Acholi folklore is rich with spiritual beliefs, mythological figures, and animal characters, blending history, morality, and entertainment. Central to the Acholi worldview are the entities Jok and Lubanga, representing good and dark powers. Lubanga is the benevolent god who walked among the Acholi people, providing guidance, rain, harvest blessings, and strength in battle. In contrast, Jok is a shadowy, darker deity associated with madness and mischief, often linked with the spiritual world and fearsome forces. Animal characters also play a significant role in Acholi folklore, particularly the hare, who is a trickster figure appearing in many stories. The hare uses wit and cunning to overcome challenges, often outsmarting stronger characters such as chiefs or other animals. These stories have moral lessons and entertain while imparting cultural values. Another famous figure is Abubi, described as a moral monster or a big creature that might be half man, half animal. Abubi serves as a cultural symbol, embodying moral lessons or warnings within Acholi society. Overall, Acholi folktales, or Ordodopa Acholi, include the actions and interactions of gods, mythical beings, and animals to teach, preserve history, and explain the world from an Acholi perspective. The most common trickster figure in Acholi stories is the hare, who is known for his cunning, quick wit, and ability to outsmart others. The hare often appears as a clever and mischievous animal who uses intelligence and trickery to overcome challenges and adversaries, including stronger animals or humans. This figure embodies traits of cleverness and resourcefulness, teaching moral lessons through his tales. In a broader African context, trickster figures like Anansi, the spider, are famously known for similar characteristics, but specifically in Acholi folklore, the hare holds this prominent trickster role. It is a key character in many Acholi folktales that entertain and convey important cultural values through its clever exploits. Thus, the common Acholi trickster is primarily the hare, celebrated for its slyness and brains in numerous stories. Other characters like Juak and Lubanga play more spiritual or mythic roles rather than trickster roles. Here are some examples of Acholi trickster tales with short summaries. The hare's marriage. In this tale, the hare is tasked by the chief to guard a millet field against the wind, which flattens the millet. The hare cleverly attempts to fulfill the task, but ultimately uses trickery to succeed. He later wins the chief's daughter by outsmarting others and retrieving the chief's ring through a cunning plan involving disguises and snares. The story highlights the hare's intelligence, wit, and cunning nature in overcoming difficult challenges. The Hare in the Wind. This story revolves around the hare being given an impossible task to control the wind and protect crops. The hare's cleverness is shown not by physically controlling the wind, but by tricking others to believe he has accomplished the goal, emphasizing the hare's role as a crafty trickster who uses brains rather than brute strength. These tales emphasize the hare's role as a trickster figure who uses intelligence and strategy to solve problems and influence outcomes, teaching lessons about wit, cleverness, and resourcefulness in Acholi culture. Acholi tricksters, primarily represented by the hare, and Anansi, the famous West African spider trickster, share key traits, but also have distinct cultural roles and symbolisms. Both are clever, witty, and use intelligence and cunning to outsmart opponents, often overcoming physically stronger foes through trickery. They serve to entertain and teach moral lessons through their actions and stories. The Acholi hare is mostly an animal figure who uses practical trickery in everyday challenges, often involving other animals or community members. Anansi, from Akan culture in West Africa, is more multifaceted. He is often portrayed as a spider or a spider-human hybrid and acts as both protagonist and antagonist in tales. Anansi is deeply tied to wisdom, knowledge, and storytelling itself. He is sometimes credited with bringing stories, wisdom, and cultural knowledge to humanity. His trickster role also includes rebelling against social norms and divine powers, symbolizing both order and chaos. While the Acholi hare generally remains a localized folk character, teaching cunning and cleverness at a community level, Anansi functions as a broader mythic figure, embodying cultural identity, spiritual wisdom, and resistance against societal constraints. Anansi's stories spread widely across the diaspora through the Atlantic slave trade and serve as important cultural touchstones beyond West Africa. Acholi trickster tales and Anansi stories from West Africa differ notably in their narrative structure and thematic emphasis. Acholi trickster tales, primarily featuring the hare, are often concise and centered on practical, everyday dilemmas faced by the community. They typically follow a straightforward plot where the trickster hare encounters a particular challenge, such as protecting crops or outwitting other animals, and uses cunning strategies to solve it. These stories usually have a clear moral lesson aimed at reinforcing social values, with the hare's cleverness highlighting resourcefulness and survival skills relevant to Acholi communal life. The structure is often linear and episodic, focusing on the hare's wit in specific scenarios. Anansi stories, by contrast, are more complex and multifaceted. Originating from the Akan people and carried into the Caribbean, Anansi tales often blend trickery with mythology, cultural history, and social commentary. Anansi is a shape-shifting spider figure whose stories sometimes involve elaborate schemes that span multiple episodes or layers of narrative. These tales address broader themes such as the acquisition of knowledge, resistance against oppressive forces, and the subversion of social hierarchies. Anansi stories often include a mixture of humor, morality, and philosophy, with ambivalent outcomes where sometimes Anansi suffers consequences for his tricks, teaching nuanced lessons about the limits of deceit. Recurring motifs that appear uniquely in Acholi trickster stories often involve the clever manipulation of larger, more powerful animals or forces by a smaller, seemingly weaker character, such as the hare. A distinct motif is the tug-of-war, where a small animal tricks two larger animals, commonly an elephant and a hippopotamus, into believing they are pulling against it, highlighting cleverness over brute strength. Another unique motif is the use of supernatural or spiritual elements intertwined with the trickster's actions. For example, tricks involving magical objects or spirits, often to explain natural phenomena or moral lessons, appear distinctively in Acholi tales. The Acholi trickster also sometimes engages with cultural symbols, such as the millet field, reflecting agricultural life and communal concerns. Moreover, Acholi trickster stories often include interaction with moral monsters, like Obibi, a half-man, half-animal figure, which gives a culturally specific tone to challenges the trickster faces, blending folklore and moral instruction uniquely compared to other African trickster traditions. These motifs underscore the Acholi trickster's role not just as a clever animal, but as an integral part of communal survival, spiritual belief, and moral teaching within the Acholi culture. Acholi trickster motifs encode social sanctions primarily through the consequences faced by characters who act against communal values or social norms. The tales use the trickster's cleverness not just as a tool of survival, but as a means of reinforcing social expectations by illustrating that actions have repercussions. For instance, when the hare engages in trickery that disrupts harmony or shows greed and selfishness, the stories often depict punishments or setbacks, symbolizing the community's disapproval and the importance of respecting social roles. These motifs encode social sanctions subtly by embedding lessons on fairness, humility, and cooperation within the hare's exploits. The trickster's victories or defeats reveal the limits of cunning, highlighting that wit cannot excuse breaches of ethical conduct. The use of supernatural and moral monsters, for example, Obibi, further serves to legitimize social orders by illustrating spiritual consequences for antisocial behavior. Thus, Acholi trickster stories function as narrative mechanisms to maintain societal cohesion, teaching that social sanctions are natural outcomes within both the human and spiritual realms. The trickster tale becomes a performative space where communal values are debated and social discipline is culturally enacted. In summary, Acholi trickster motifs encode social sanctions by dramatizing consequences of behavior within stories, reflecting cultural norms and reinforcing social order through mythic and moral symbolism. Acholi communities enforce social sanctions encoded in trickster tales through communal practices tied to oral storytelling and traditional justice systems. When these tales are retold during gatherings, elders and community members emphasize the moral lessons and social norms embedded in the stories, reinforcing expected behavior and discouraging antisocial actions. Sanctions are not typically punitive in a legal sense, but are enforced through social pressure, collective memory, and the authority of elders who interpret the story's meanings. The traditional Acholi justice system, which revolves around restorative practices such as the Mato Oput ceremony, complements these sanctions by seeking reconciliation, forgiveness, and social harmony rather than punishment. Through story retelling, deviations from communal norms are highlighted, and the community collectively upholds standards that maintain social cohesion. In essence, the retelling of trickster tales becomes a reiteration of cultural values, where individuals who break norms face social disapproval or exclusion, and the community uses restorative rituals to reintegrate offenders once they acknowledge and amend their behavior. This process reinforces both social sanctions and healing, making oral tradition a key tool in maintaining order and relationships in Acholi society. Therefore, Acholi communities use narrative reinforcement, elder authority, social pressure, and complementary restorative ceremonies to enforce social sanctions when trickster tales and other folklore are retold. Elders in Acholi communities mediate punishment after a breach of norms depicted in tales through a restorative and dialogic process grounded in communal values. They serve as authoritative custodians of cultural knowledge and moral order, interpreting the story's lessons in the context of the transgression. Instead of punitive measures alone, elders facilitate reconciliation by organizing community discussions where the offender acknowledges wrongdoing and affected parties express their grievances. This mediation process often involves rituals aimed at restoring harmony, such as the Mato Oplet ceremony, which symbolizes forgiveness and reintegration of the offender into the community. Elders weigh the social impact of the breach and prescribe sanctions proportionate to the offense, always emphasizing the restoration of relationships over retribution. Through storytelling, elders reinforce social norms, clarify the consequences of violating them, and use these narratives as teaching tools to prevent future breaches. Overall, elders' mediation combines moral authority, communal dialogue, symbolic rituals, and social pressure to enforce norms and maintain social cohesion after the breach highlighted by trickster tales. Thus, elder mediation in Acholi society is a culturally rooted process balancing justice and reconciliation, deeply connected to the social sanctioning encoded in folklore. The relationship between Mato Oput and Acholi tales lies in their shared role in reinforcing social harmony, justice, and reconciliation within the Acholi community. Mato Oput is a traditional ritual and conflict resolution ceremony specifically aimed at healing relationships disturbed by serious offenses such as murder. It focuses on forgiveness, restoration, and community healing rather than punishment or retribution. Acholi tales, especially trickster stories, encode social norms and sanctions by illustrating consequences for breaching moral codes. These stories serve as moral teaching tools that prepare the community to understand the importance of restoring social balance. When a breach of norms occurs in real life, Mato Oput is the cultural mechanism through which the harm symbolized or forewarned by the tales is addressed and repaired ceremonially. Thus, Acholi tales and Mato Oput are interconnected components of a larger cultural system where oral narratives teach and uphold ethical conduct, and Mato Oput ritualizes the restoration of peace, forgiveness, and social cohesion after conflicts or breaches symbolized in folklore. Both emphasize communal values of reconciliation, respect, and harmony as central to the Acholi identity and justice system. In summary, Acholi tales provide the moral and social framework, while Mato Oput enacts the practical restoration of that framework when norms are violated. Examples of tales that trigger Mato Oput ceremonies typically involve serious breaches of social norms, such as murder or accidental killing, within or between clans. In Acholi culture, when a person kills another, whether intentionally or accidentally, this grave offense often calls for Mato Oput, a reconciliation ritual that aims to restore relationships and peace between the victim's family and the offender's family. While specific folk tales do not always directly narrate the ceremony, the moral lessons from Acholi tales about respecting life, social harmony, and consequences of wrongdoing set the context for Mato Oput. These stories highlight the gravity of acts like murder, which trigger the ritual. For example, conflicts arising from disputes or violence among kin, as symbolized in traditional narratives about clans or families, lead to Mato Oput as a traditional remedy. The ritual involves symbolic acts, such as drinking a bitter herbal mixture from the Oput tree to cleanse bitterness and hatred, joint consumption of sacrificial animal parts, mutual forgiveness declarations, and communal reconciliation, all inspired by the cultural values that Acholi tales uphold regarding justice, forgiveness, and social cohesion. In summary, serious breaches such as murder reflected in Acholi tales depicting consequences for such acts are the kinds of offenses that Mato Oput ceremonies address, demonstrating the close link between folklore, social norms, and traditional justice.
Market hums with stories flying by. Drums are calling.
One Acholi tale linked to reconciliation rituals is a story involving the hare in a conflict with a neighboring clan that escalates into violence or accidental killing. In the tale, the hare's trickery causes unintended harm, leading to a breach of social norms, such as the killing of a clan member. This breach triggers the need for Mato Oput, the traditional Acholi reconciliation ceremony. The tale serves as a moral framework, illustrating the seriousness of causing harm within the community and the necessity of restoring social harmony. Mato Oput ritualizes this restoration through symbolic acts like drinking the bitter herb from the Oput tree, representing the cleansing of bitterness and renewal of peaceful relations between the offenders and victims' families. The story and ritual combined emphasize forgiveness, accountability, and the reintegration of offenders into the community, making reconciliation a communal and spiritual affair. Thus, the tale's narrative teaches the consequences of social breaches and the cultural importance of Mato Oput as a means for healing and maintaining cohesion in Acholi society. In summary, Acholi tales that involve breach of norms, such as killing, link directly to Mato Oput ceremonies, with the tale providing moral lessons and the ritual enacting social reconciliation.